Alice A. Bailey's Initiation, Human and Solar.
A foundational text for many.
It first came out in 1922, which it's still in print, still being discussed, so clearly it struck a chord with people over the years.
Its continued relevance, it suggests that it taps into some really fundamental human questions.
He emphasized that we should only believe something if it resonates with our own reason, our own inner knowing.
That's crucial.
We are to believe when the writing, doctrine, or saying is corroborated by our own reason and consciousness. That sets a great tone for our discussion, I say.
Definitely. Exploration, not dogma.
We're here to explore, not to blindly accept.
Oh.
Okay, so let's jump in and try to unpack one of the foundational ideas in the book, what Bailey calls the occult hierarchy.
Okay, yes. This concept of a spiritual hierarchy operating right here on our planet, it's absolutely central to Bailey's work.
Right.
It's not presented as just, a chaotic mix of enlightened individuals. It's seen as a highly organized network, conscious beings actively guiding the evolution of life on Earth.
It's like a management team.
Kind of, like a hidden management team for the planet's spiritual growth, you could say.
Yeah.
Working behind the scenes, promoting progress.
And this team isn't just local, is it? It's connected to something much larger.
Exactly. This planetary hierarchy is seen as a reflection, really, on a smaller scale, of a grander solar hierarchy. Just as this group works with energies within our planetary system, influencing things through figures like the masters we'll talk about, the solar hierarchy operates at the level of our entire solar system, influencing us through the sun, through certain key planets. It's like nested systems, each influencing the level below it.
Wow. So what exactly is the job description for this planetary hierarchy? What are their main goals?
Bailey outlines 4 primary areas of focus. First, they work to develop self-consciousness in all beings.
Okay.
And this isn't just about becoming aware. It involves helping individuals integrate their higher spiritual nature with their, everyday existence.
How do they do that?
By living as examples, basically.
Yeah.
Examples of service, sacrifice, and by constantly radiating what's called light, which in this context you can think of as a kind of potent, conscious, purposeful energy.
So they're like spiritual mentors and energy broadcasters.
That's a pretty good way to visualize it, yeah. Their second major task is to foster consciousness in the lower kingdoms.
Mineral, vegetable, animal.
Exactly, the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms. This happens through the workings of karma, but at a group level, by directing specific energetic forces and by creating the right conditions for these kingdoms to evolve along their own paths.
That's a massive scope of influence. What else are they involved in?
Thirdly, the hierarchy acts as a channel for the intentions of the planetary logos and ultimately the solar logos down to humanity and also the divas.
Divas, like angels.
Or what many might call angels, yes. Each planet in our system, including Earth, is seen as a vital center within the larger body of the logos, expressing a unique kind of energy. The hierarchy helps to transmit and put into action the specific purpose associated with our planet's energetic signature. Think of each planet having its own essential note in a cosmic symphony.
I like that.
And the hierarchy helps to conduct that note into being.
And the fourth key area of their work.
That's centered on providing a living blueprint for humanity, an example of truly selfless service, profound sacrifice for the greater good, and a complete letting go of personal desires in favor of the larger plan.
So setting the standard, really.
Precisely.
Now, according to Bailey, how did this hierarchy even come to be? When did it all start?
Well, the establishment of the hierarchy is placed way back during the Lemurian epoch, millions of years ago.
Wow.
A pivotal event happened then. The planetary logos of our Earth, known as Sanat Kumara, often called the Ancient of Days or the Lord of the World, took a form. Not a dense physical body like ours, but one that exists on the etheric plane.
Okay.
And he has apparently remained with our planet ever since.
Millions of years. That's an incredible commitment.
It is. Because of the sheer purity of his being, he couldn't take on a dense physical form, apparently. So he operates in this more subtle, etheric realm. He's considered the greatest of all avatars, a direct expression of the entity that animates all planetary evolution.
Right.
And everything exists within his energetic field, his aura. In Bailey's view, we are all literally within his sphere of influence.
That's a big thought.
And this act of remaining with the planet is referred to as the Great Sacrifice.
And within this vast hierarchy, is there like a central core group?
Yes. At the very heart of this whole organized effort is what she calls a central esoteric group of 6, who work most closely with the Lord of the World, with Sanat Kumara. Below them are numerous other groups, individuals, each with specific roles.
Okay. And who are some of the key figures in this structure? Bailey mentioned some great lords, right?
Yes, she introduces 3 particularly important figures, each overseeing different aspects of the hierarchy's work. First, there's the Manu. Bailey mentions his use of powerful meditation and something called enunciated sound in his activities. The second great lord is the world teacher, known in the West as the Christ.
Okay.
His focus is on bridging the gap between spirit and matter, fostering the growth of civilization, and he's described as a primary source of spiritual energy. Interestingly, other masters within the hierarchy present their plans to him for guidance and approval.
So like the central coordinator for spiritual wisdom.
That's a fitting analogy, yes. And the third is the Mahachohan. He's concerned with the development of human intelligence.
The mind aspect.
Exactly. He presides over what are called the 5 rays of mind and inspires advancements in science, art, philosophy, collaborating with divas and angels who work on the mental plane. Think of him as the guiding force behind intellectual and creative progress.
It really does sound like a cosmic cabinet, doesn't it? Each member with a distinct portfolio.
That's a good way to put it.
Bailey also mentions other masters. Can you tell us a bit about them and what they focus on?
Certainly. There's Master M, who's said to work with esoteric organizations and people involved in political leadership. Master KH is associated with healing practices and famously with being a key figure behind the teachings of the secret doctrine.
Right, Blavatsky's work.
Exactly. Bailey explains that the masters primarily work through their disciples.
Okay.
A master will present a long-term goal, an objective, to a disciple. It then becomes the disciple's job, really, to figure out the most effective ways to achieve that goal, to create plans, initiate activities, maybe form groups or organizations to share the necessary teachings. The master then observes the disciples' efforts and offers their spiritual support, their blessing, as Bailey puts it, as long as the work remains aligned with selfless service.
Makes sense.
The disciple bears the responsibility for choosing collaborators, training future leaders, presenting the teachings clearly. The master's intervention is usually limited to withdrawing their support if the work goes astray or, spreads misinformation.
Okay, that gives us a fascinating overview of this cosmic management structure.
The journey begins on what's known as the probationary path.
Probationary, like a trial period.
Sort of, yeah. It's a period of preparation where individuals are taught fundamental principles and their readiness for further progress is, evaluated. The relationship between the masters and those on this path involves guidance, various forms of testing, and a gradual revealing of deeper spiritual truths.
And in this context, what exactly is a disciple? How does Bailey define that?
Bailey defines a disciple as an individual who has made a fundamental commitment to 3 key things. 1, serving humanity as a whole. 2, actively cooperating with what they understand to be the divine plan. And 3, developing their higher mental and spiritual capacities, expanding their consciousness to operate on multiple levels and be guided by their higher self, often called the ego in this context. Discipleship presents several significant hurdles. One major challenge is the rebellion of the lower self.
Meaning
Meaning the resistance of our physical body, our emotions, our lower mental habits, resistance to being controlled and transformed by our higher aspirations.
I can imagine that.
Another source of difficulty can be the reactions from their close personal circles, friends, family who might not understand or appreciate their growing sense of detachment from purely personal concerns. They're shifting priorities.
So if their focus becomes more spiritual, they might experience a kind of disconnect with those around them.
It can create a temporary sense of separation during that transitional period, yeah. Although ultimately the aim is to achieve a deeper, more compassionate connection with all of life, rooted in the soul level.
Right. So what are the main goals for someone navigating this path of discipleship? What are they striving to achieve?
Bailey outlines several key objectives. These include cultivating a heightened sensitivity to the master's energetic influence, or vibration, living a life of practical purity, thought, word, and deed, learning to release personal anxieties and attachments, that freedom from care you mentioned,
That sounds good.
diligently and without personal bias, fulfilling their duties, working through their karmic responsibilities, and studying the nature of their own desire-mind complex, often called the kama manasic body.
Understanding yourself on that level.
Exactly.
And what about this idea of group work among disciples?
Disciples increasingly find themselves working within group structures, recognizing their interconnectedness as units of consciousness energized by the master's intention. The emphasis here shifts from purely individual striving to collaborative contribution,
Okay.
with a focus on selfless service through these aligned groups to further the greater plan.
Okay, so they prepare on the probationary path, become a disciple, work in groups, and then how does one actually step onto what's called the path of initiation itself?
The path of initiation involves a series of progressive awakenings, really, expansions of consciousness, each marked by specific ceremonial transitions. Bailey details several key
Let's
initiations.
hear about them.
Okay, the first two primarily focus on gaining mastery over the physical body and the emotional or astral body, respectively.
Right.
This involves an initial activation or vivification of the base chakra and the solar plexus chakra. And the fundamental aim here is the sacrifice of desire, transforming selfish desires into aspirations aligned with the higher self. Think of the first initiation as fundamentally about mastering the physical vehicle.
So it's about gaining control over our basic human drives.
Yeah.
Like really getting a handle on them.
That's a concise way to put it, yes. Then the third initiation involves the activation of the throat chakra. This enables the disciple to consciously use their lower mind in service to the master and to humanity.
The throat chakra. Communication, creativity.
And conscious mental direction, yes. A crucial aspect here is developing a clear perception of the world's needs, a deeper understanding of the overarching plan. And that requires letting go of personal biases and allowing the higher self, the ego, to guide the concrete mind.
It sounds like a shift from personal ambition to a much broader, service-oriented perspective. What comes after that?
The fourth and fifth initiations mark pretty significant leaks in consciousness. They involve the Buddhic and Atmic planes, much higher levels of reality.
Okay.
These stages lead to liberation from the three lower realms of experience: physical, emotional, mental, and the ability to function within what's called the logoic body of vitality.
Ergoic body.
She emphasizes that the process of initiation is a universal phenomenon. It occurs across different planets within our solar system, and she even connects it to the Syrian Lodge.
Sirius. The star.
Yes, considered a central point of cosmic energy and influence in this cosmology. She also mentions that the symbolism found in Freemasonry offers a kind of symbolic representation of these steps on the path of spiritual development.
Interesting parallel. And what about the divas, these angelic beings? Do they undergo initiation in the same way that humans do?
Bailey explains that initiation, as we understand it, is primarily focused on the conscious development of the individual self and the unfolding of wisdom. It requires a certain level of intellectual development, the capacity to understand purpose and will, coupled with the ability to express love and engage in service. Most divas, having evolved along a different path, one that didn't include direct experience in the human kingdom in past cycles, aren't self-conscious in the same way humans are.
Okay.
Their evolution tends to be more through feeling, less through conscious self-directed thought. So the expansions of consciousness we call initiation don't really occur for them in the same manner, except perhaps for those more advanced divas who have passed through a human-like stage and thus possess both feeling and conscious understanding.
That's a really interesting distinction. Okay, let's circle back to this rod of initiation. Bailey mentions different kinds. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yes, she describes 4 distinct types of rods. There's cosmic, systemic, planetary, and personal.
Cosmic and systemic sound.
Huge.
They are. The cosmic rod is used by a cosmic logos to initiate a solar logos, and the 3 primary planetary logo. I mean, that's a level of interaction far beyond our current comprehension.
The systemic rod is employed by a solar logos for planetary initiations, also on a vast scale. For our purposes, though, we're most interested in the planetary and personal rods.
So what about the planetary rod? Who uses that, and what's its purpose?
The planetary rod is used by a planetary logos for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th major initiations, as well as the 2 higher ones. This rod of power, ultimately deriving its energy from the solar logos, is described as being charged with pure electrical force originating from the star Sirius.
So Sirius again.
Yes. Our planetary logos supposedly received it during a particular phase of creation from a high-ranking being associated with the laws of karma.
And the flaming diamond rod that Bailey mentions, is that different?
The flaming diamond is a specific planetary rod used by Sanat Kumara, who holds the role of the primary initiator for our planet.
Okay.
It's said to be kept hidden in a symbolic east and holds the spiritual fire that underlies the wisdom teachings. This particular rod was apparently brought to Earth by Sanat Kumara from Venus.
From Venus.
Yes, and it's periodically recharged by the direct influence of the solar logos. Its exact location is known only to Sanat Kumara and the high-ranking beings known as the Chohans of the rays. It's used not only for initiating humans, but also for certain planetary functions that are, frankly, beyond our understanding.
These rods sound incredibly powerful. What's their fundamental function? Why use a rod?
Their main function is to act as conduits, to transmit potent electrical force from very high spiritual dimensions. The flaming diamond, in particular, at the 6th and 7th initiations, is said to channel energy via the logos from sources completely outside our solar system.
Wow. Okay. Now, what about the actual initiation ceremony? What does that typically involve?
The general initiation ceremony involves several key participants and elements. Naturally, there is the initiator.
Not Kumara, often.
Often, yes. Then there's a triangle of force formed by 3 highly advanced beings, either 3 adepts or 3 Kumaras. And finally, the sponsors.
Sponsors.
Yes. In the first 2 initiations, 2 masters serve as sponsors, standing within this triangle alongside the individual undergoing initiation. For the 3rd, 4th, and 5th initiations, the Mahachohan and the being known as the Bodhisattva typically fulfill this role.
Okay.
At the 6th and 7th initiations, 2 even more advanced, unnamed beings take this place within the esoteric triangle.
And what exactly do these sponsors do? What's their role?
Their crucial role is to act as channels. They pass the intense electrical energy emanating from the rod of initiation through their own energy systems to the initiate.
Ah, like stepping down the power.
Kind of, yes. This force radiates around the triangle. It's amplified by the 3 central figures, and then, through a focused act of will by the sponsors, it's directed towards the specific energy center, the chakra, within the initiate's body that is being activated during that particular initiation.
It sounds like a very carefully orchestrated transfer of immense spiritual power. What happens when the rod is actually applied to the initiate? What are the immediate effects?
The application of the rod brings about profound and lasting changes in the initiate's various bodies, their energy centers. On the physical level, it kicks off a period of intense activity, even inner conflict, as less refined energies are expelled and replaced with more subtle substance.
The purification process.
Definitely. The initiate's capacity to be of service is significantly increased. Their vital energy intensifies, allowing them to tap into previously inaccessible reserves of force. And importantly, the brain's ability to receive impressions from the higher self and more subtle realms also dramatically improves.
So it acts as a powerful catalyst.
Yeah.
Purification and enhanced spiritual ability.
Exactly. It's like a turbocharge for spiritual growth, as you said.
Right.
On the level of the energy centers, the spiritual fire at the base of the spine is directed towards the specific chakra being activated. The speed and intensity of that center's rotation are increased, and certain spokes or petals connected to the fundamental energy patterns within what are called the permanent atoms are stimulated.
Permanent atom.
Yes, sort of the core blueprints for the different bodies. This eventually leads to the integration of higher energy bodies, like the Buddhic body, and a shift of lower energetic polarities to higher ones. The flow of energy and influence from the higher self, the ego, down to the personality is also greatly amplified.
And what's the role of the larger group of masters, the lodge, during this ceremony? Are they just watching?
Not just watching. The assembled Lodge of Masters, positioned outside that central triangle of force, engages in a threefold process. First, they collectively create a protective and supportive energetic field.
Okay.
Second, they focus their unified spiritual aspiration towards the initiate. And third, they maintain a state of silent, focused attention. All of this is aimed at producing specific beneficial effects within the initiate's consciousness and supporting the work of the initiator. Bailey also notes that the ceremony operates under a principle of energetic balance. There's a corresponding decrease in the energy of the point of transmission whenever force is being directed.
Like conservation of energy on a cosmic scale.
Something like that, yes.
After this intense moment with the rod, what happens next in the ceremony?
Following the application of the rod, the initiate is formally recognized as a member of the lodge, and the focus of the ceremony shifts a bit. The sponsors step back. 3 beings, known as the Buddhas of activity, or their representatives, take their place behind the initiator.
Okay.
Lodge members of the same level of initiation as the new initiate gather around them to assist in the final stages. Other initiates and advanced beings stand according to their respective degrees. This sets the stage for the initiate to take the sacred oath and for the revelation of the word and the secret.
The oath sounds like a very serious commitment. What does it involve?
Bailey describes the oath as having three main parts. The first part concerns the initiate's core purpose, their unwavering intention, their understanding of the overall divine plan, what she calls the revelation of the vision,
Right.
and a promise to keep the specifics of that plan confidential, revealing it only through their actions and service in the world, not by, spelling it out.
So, a vow of discretion about the ultimate cosmic goals. Show, don't tell.
Essentially, yes. The second part of the oath pertains to their relationship with other spiritual beings, the Lodge of Masters, and humanity as a whole. This includes their attitude of cooperation and respect towards fellow initiates, and a solemn promise never to disclose the true nature of the higher self as it's revealed during initiation, including the connection between the solar and planetary logoi.
Okay, maintaining that sacred inner knowledge.
And
And the third part of this significant oath.
the third part is a commitment to absolute silence regarding the knowledge they have gained about the sources of energy and force they've been brought into contact with during the initiation. It's a threefold promise concerning the fundamental nature of energy, the spiritual laws governing its use, and a dedication to using this enhanced energy made accessible through initiation solely for the benefit of humanity and in alignment with the plans of the planetary logos. The solar words are described as the foundational sounds or vibrations that underlie all of manifested reality. The enunciated sound spoken with the full power of the divine will. Bailey connects us to the importance of deep meditation in cultivating the inner dynamic intention that precedes any creative expression through sound. She actually states that the Lodge of Masters produced the worlds through meditation, which involved a process of first envisioning the entire cosmic process before bringing it into being through a specific word of power.
Like a blueprint brought into reality through a specific command or vibration.
Exactly. So in this framework, sound is a fundamental creative force.
Absolutely.
Bailey explains that sounds within our solar system fall into two main categories: initiatory sounds that bring about manifestation, and eventuating sounds that arise from within existing forms as they evolve. She details different levels of these words. The original Logoic word, the Trinity words, the 7 great words, said to have created the 7 planes of existence, the 49 words related to the subplanes. Then there are specific words associated with each planetary logos, like the sound FA is linked to our own Earth logos.
Interesting.
And words used within the hierarchy itself for various purposes. Individuals preparing for initiation need to focus on several key areas of self-discipline. This includes diligently gaining control over every aspect of their lower nature, physical body, emotions, mind. It also involves meticulously controlling their speech at all times, using words consciously, learning to conserve that energetic resource when not needed. Furthermore, they need to develop a deep intellectual understanding of cosmic and planetary laws and cultivate a profound inner realization of spiritual truths. After taking the oath, the initiate receives what are called the 7 secrets. These are described as concise formulas, mathematical in nature, and precisely worded. They convey knowledge about the planetary logoi, the spiritual rays of energy, key aspects of the hierarchical structure. They aren't mantras meant for repetition, but rather encoded information. When perceived clairvoyantly, they apparently appear as ovals of particular colors containing unique symbols or hieroglyphics. Each secret provides a key to understanding the nature of a specific planetary logos, the characteristics of the individual spiritual sparks monads evolving on that particular planetary ray, the corresponding ray or color with its associated number, musical note, vibrational frequency, and one of the 7 hierarchical keys that link our planetary hierarchy to the larger solar system. At each of the first 5 initiations, a lesser secret is unveiled. At the first initiation is the secret of the coherence of the atom. It deals with the fundamental mystery of matter, gives insights into previous cosmic cycles.
Wow.
At the second initiation, is the secret of the sea. This clarifies the mystery of the astral light, the realm of emotions, desires, and the workings of karma. It supposedly enables the initiate to access the Akashic records and understand karmic balance.
Accessing cosmic memory.
In a way. The third, the secret of the land, revealed at the third initiation, concerns the mystery of mind. It aids in understanding one's own threefold lower nature and how to consciously work with energies in the physical, emotional, and mental realm.
Practical application.
Yes. The fourth, the secret of fire, relates to the mystery of electricity, understood here as a fundamental spiritual force and the connection between our planetary logos and certain constellations. And the fifth, the secret of ether, deals with the mystery of planetary interconnectedness, the underlying unity of all life on Earth. The two great secrets are revealed at the fourth and fifth initiations, marking really significant expansions of consciousness. The fourth initiation unveils the mystery of polarity associated with the divine aspect of preservation, or Vishnu in the Hindu tradition.
Okay.
It unlocks vast knowledge about the underlying unity within the different kingdoms of nature, the process of individual soul integration, egoic at-one-ment, the relationship between the higher self and the personality, and the interconnectedness of human and angelic, or diva, evolution.
That's huge.
And the fifth initiation reveals the mystery of life itself, associated with the divine aspect of transformation, or Shiva, granting even deeper and more profound understanding. The typical evolution of consciousness is seen as a much more gradual unfolding. This particular accelerated path of development through formal initiation was apparently initiated by the hierarchy during the Atlantean period as a special effort to quicken the spiritual awakening of humanity. It's described as a significant period of testing, energetic activation, and opportunity within the vast cycle of a cosmic being referred to as a heavenly man. Importantly, she clarifies that the major initiations, the ones affecting the mental faculties, primarily take place on the mental plane of existence, not necessarily the physical. Bailey explains that while someone who aspires to the spiritual path strives towards discipleship in a general sense, an applicant for initiation is held to a much more specific and rigorous standard. Aspirants have more flexibility in their progress on the probationary path, whereas applicants, once they formally seek to enter the initiatory process, must adhere to a defined and demanding regime. Things that might be considered optional for disciples become mandatory for applicants.
Can you share a few of these 14 rules for applicants that offer particularly insightful guidance? What stands out?
The very first rule advises the disciple to deeply examine their heart. If a truly selfless love burns brightly within, then the time for application has arrived. Love as the foundation.
That makes sense.
Rule number 3 speaks of responding to a triple call across the desert of the physical body, the sea of emotions, and the fires of the mental realm, highlighting the need for purification and control in all three aspects. Rule number 4 emphasizes the applicant's responsibility to nurture and care for the lesser lives that comprise their own threefold lower nature. Basically, taking conscious responsibility for their physical, emotional, and mental well-being and evolution.
Okay.
And rule number 5 encourages the solar angel, the higher self, to become more dominant, thereby dimming the influence of the lunar angels, the more reactive, personality-driven aspects, asserting one's inherent divinity, essentially. Rule number 6 is perhaps one of the best known, the sacrifice of the third to the fourth, which Bailey interprets quite directly as a strict instruction to adopt a vegetarian diet.
The diet rule.
Yes. She explains that consuming meat tends to make the lower nature more dense, more sluggish, hindering the inner spiritual fire. Rule number 9 addresses esoteric group relation, stressing the importance of self-discipline within a spiritual group, rather than trying to correct or manage others. Focus on your own work. Rule number 10, the Army of the Voice, encourages the occult study of divas and their methods of constructing physical forms, understanding how form comes into being. Rule 11 discusses the higher and lower triangles, which in this context refer to the conscious control and sublimation of the vital generative energies towards higher spiritual centers, transmuting sexual energy. Rule 12, the use of the hand, feet, and the eye between the two has an esoteric meaning. It relates to the purposeful use of energy centers, the chakras in the palms for selfless service. Okay. The direction of energy through the feet when undertaking tasks aligned with the hierarchy's work, and the development of causal vision, the ability to perceive reality from the level of the causal body, the realm of the higher self. Rule 13 mentions 4 key things an applicant needs to comprehend: the principles of spiritual radiation, the 5 different aspects of magnetic influence, the process of transmutation or spiritual alchemy, and the significance of their own soul's name, their true spiritual identity.
Deep concepts.
And the final rule, number 14, presents 5 powerful words: listen, touch, see, apply, know. This signifies the conscious dedication and utilization of the senses in the pursuit of spiritual development, ultimately leading to direct, realized knowledge, not just belief.
Consecrating the senses to the path.
Exactly. These rules together, they paint a picture of radical self-transformation and a really deep commitment to the spiritual path. The Silent Watcher is described as the fundamental animating life force of our planet. a vast, incredibly evolved being,
The planet's own consciousness.
on a level far beyond what we usually think of. Its relationship to the Lord of the World, Sanat Kumara, is said to be similar to that of the human soul, the ego to the personality. But the evolutionary gap between this being and Sanat Kumara is supposedly immense, comparable to the difference between an ordinary human and a fully perfected spiritual master. From our planetary perspective, this great life is considered the highest, a counterpart perhaps to the personal god of many traditions. It works through Sanat Kumara as his direct representative on the physical plane and holds the entire world within its vast aura. Direct contact with this silent watcher is only possible for the most highly advanced spiritual beings. The Wesak festival, which takes place annually in the Himalayan region, usually during the full moon in May, is described as a sacred time. It's when the Buddha supposedly makes a renewed spiritual connection with the work and evolution of our planet. It's considered a highly significant event in the spiritual calendar, attended, Bailey says, by all the members of the spiritual hierarchy.
And finally, Bailey includes the text of the Great Invocation. What's its purpose and significance according to her? Why end with that?
Bailey presents the Great Invocation as a kind of universal prayer or invocation. She stresses it belongs to all of humanity, not to any specific individual or group. She emphasizes its simplicity and how it articulates fundamental truths that are arguably widely accepted. The existence of a primal intelligence we call God, the motivating force of the universe being love, embodied by the Christ principle, both love and intelligence being expressions of the will of God, and the, well, self-evident reality that the divine plan can only be realized through humanity itself.
Humanity or the vehicle.
Precisely. She sees the Great Invocation as a potent tool for bringing about the fulfillment of the divine plan on Earth through the focused invocation and manifestation of light, love, and power.